Hey, good morning, everybody. And first and foremost, thanks for dialing in. So, Bill Fanter here. I just want to take this time to say thank you for showing up this morning. I know for some of you it's super early out here on the West Coast, although it's not too bad. It's 7 o'clock. Some of you in the Midwest, right? It's 9 o'clock on the East Coast, 10, and then other parts of the world, it's in the middle of the night. So the good news is this is going to be recorded. This is going to be just a very casual introduction as to what I do, what I teach. You've probably seen some of my posts, whether they're on LinkedIn, Instagram, or maybe it's an email because you get my weekly watch list. And you're thinking to yourself, this is too good to be true. This can't be possible. So therefore, I'm just going to ignore it and dismiss it. So what I really want to do today is just spend a little bit of time level setting the playing field as to what I do, why I'm so passionate about it, and the value that it can bring if you're willing to learn. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through the opportunity. I'm going to absolutely walk you through the risks and the pitfalls. Okay. That's the one thing that you're going to come to learn about me as a 35-year career bank executive is that if you don't lead with risk management, you won't have a bank, right? And you are the fiduciary or the custodian to people's money. And so there's a big piece of integrity and reputation that I will always protect. So I'll share a little bit more about me as we go through the program, but this is really meant to be educational, right? I'm not here to sell you on anything. I'm not here to convince you of anything. This is purely for your educational purpose. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in. Everything again is recorded. I'll send out the recording after in case you have to drop or you have another commitment. But let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So with that, the program that I always teach and I always talk about is that successful people always have options. And I'm a very firm believer of this, that if you're successful in life, you don't always have to go with option A. You can take option B, option C. A great example is I'm going to go on vacation. Well, if I'm successful, I can drive if I want to. I could fly. Well, then again, if I want to fly, I could fly coach, I could fly first class. Maybe I want to take a private jet, right? How I'm going to get to the destination, a lot of it is going to be dependent upon, well, how much money do I want to spend? And you will typically find that some of the most successful people in life just end up having more disposable income. So I do want to get through some of the disclaimers and again, level set the playing field because I think this is extremely important. But everything that I'm going to talk to you about is for educational purposes only. That is it. Okay. I am not an investment advisor. I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. I am not licensed. I don't have my FINRA licenses. I don't have my Series 6, 7, 63, 82, 94 punt, right? That's not me, and that's never who I've proclaimed to be. Okay. Anything that you're going to see in this presentation, and you're going to see real live alerts and signals and how the analysts work. Okay. Again, it is all educational purposes. I don't encourage you to just blindly follow them. And I teach a lot of that in my master class as to when we see an alert or a signal and what they're doing, how do we take that, process it, and say, is this a good risk management for me? All the earnings, the income statements, everything that you see, you're going to have live examples. I mean, nothing is Photoshop, nothing is screen printed, right? Everything is time stamped. And that's the beauty that I love about what I do is you can scroll back years and look at comments, you could look at screens, you could look at education, you could look at wins, you could look at losses, right? But any success that you're seeing here is duplicatable if you're willing to learn the skill, but it's not guaranteed, right? And then the monetary income and results are based on many factors. And I have no way of knowing how well you will do in the world of trading, right? I have a lot of students that do incredibly well. And I'm not going to lie to you. I do have students that fail. They fail miserably. And they fail because they struggle with the emotional intelligence side of what we do. Okay. So trading, 20% technical, 80% psychological. You are constantly going back and forth between greed and fear, greed and fear. And I'm going to show you a great example of that on a trade that I actually took yesterday. Okay. So again, I've already disclosed this, but not me, any of my employees. My only employee is Freeman. But we're not financial advisors. We're not investment advisors. I will never manage your money. I will never ask you for money. I will not trade for you. I will not do a revenue share with you. I will do nothing with you other than educate you, trade live in front of you, tell you exactly what I'm doing, exactly what I'm buying, sharing my screen, sharing my buy price, my sell price, my charts, my levels, and everything. I'll just literally, it's what you're watching here. In this presentation is how I trade live every single morning in front of hundreds of people. Okay. And so use all this own information at your own risk, right? You need to figure out what your risk tolerance is, but I'm not guaranteeing anything, right? It's not warranted. It's not expressed. It's not implied. I'm just sharing with you what I believe works incredibly well when it's done correctly. Now, if it's not done correctly, that's a whole nother story. Okay. And all the views and opinions here are mine and mine alone. So I want to level set yet again, real quick. What is the difference? Because for some of you, this is going to be new. And for others, you're like, yeah, Bill, I get this, right? Stocks versus options. So I'm going to use JP Morgan Chase because it's a big financial service company that many are familiar with around the world. But if I want to go out and buy 1,000 shares of Chase yesterday, I would have had to pay approximately $290.50. Okay, so I got to pony up about 290 grand to get into literally 1,000 shares of Chase. Now, conversely, if I want to control the options, and now the options are going to be dependent upon multiple factors. I'm not going to get into the nuances. So for those of you that are options traders, just sit on your hands and do nothing. Okay. But I could control the right to buy 1,000 shares of Chase at $290.50, which could cost on average 2,450 bucks. Okay. So when you think about the difference between a stock and an option gives you the right to buy the stock, but you don't have the obligation to buy it. Now, when you buy the stock, you're obligated to it, right? I mean, you own it. It's in your portfolio. It goes up, you make money. It goes down, you lose money. Let's talk a little bit about why I actually do both, right? So my investing account is separate than my trading account. And that's, another great misnomer that most people don't understand about what I do is they're like, well, if you get 30 to 100% returns every day, you'd be the richest man in the world. That's not technically true because trading is not linear, right? You don't trade your entire portfolio. Only an idiot would do that. So you trade smaller amounts of capital that are a fraction of the portfolio size. And it's actually in a separate account. So like my long-term investments are not touched by what I do every day. They're adjusted moderately based upon price levels, supply and demand, charts, liquidity, so on and so forth, to say this stock is oversold, this stock is overbought. So I will adjust my portfolio based upon the core fundamentals that I trade off of, but my trading account is completely separate. Okay. So that is one of the biggest components that is usually a gap for most people. Now, when Chase increases on the left-hand side, when I own the stock, right, my equity goes up by $1,000. If I own 1,000 shares and it goes up by $1, well, $1 times 1,000 is $1,000 in profit. Now, conversely, if I have Chase that increases by $1 yesterday, when I buy the options on the market open, my ROI on that trade could be 28%. Because my investment will go up by $700. Now, these calculations change every day, every hour of every minute, but on average, that's how you're getting returns of 30% to 300% in a day. Because an option is leverage, right? I'm controlling the right to buy 1,000 shares for a fraction of the investment. So while my overall investment isn't going up as much, my capital is so much lower to the downside. Okay. So that's the difference between stocks and options. We invest long term in stocks, we trade short term options on either news events, order flow. There's a whole host of reasons, tariffs, right? Political rhetoric, war, things that are going on in the economy that will allow you to capitalize on the movement of the stock. Okay. Now, the other thing with options is you are defining your risk. So when I go into an options contract at Chase, let's say I went in yesterday with $2,450, that is the very most that I could possibly lose. Now, if I went into Chase with $290,500 in capital or in stock, well, now my loss is what? Significantly greater by 100x. Okay. So, yep, you own the stock, but the percentage of risk to the downside is to zero. Now, they both can go to zero. So, let's think about roll back 2.5, 3 years ago, Silicon Valley Bank, right? When Chase was trading at $180, Silicon Valley Bank implodes, Chase dropped down to 90 bucks. Okay. Well, if I was in an options contract, I would not have lost 100 grand in the overall position portfolio. I would have lost my $2,450 on the day, as an example. Now, the other thing with options that is different than stocks is that you are renting the stock. Okay, so it's like an option is renting it. It's like Blockbuster. So back in the day, if you used to go to Blockbuster, right? We check out a video, we keep it for 24, 48 hours, we bring it back. Thanks. That was great. Well, the same thing is with options, right? Because I don't actually own the stock and I can own it if I want to in the portfolio, but I could also rent it. And I could rent it for a minute. I could rent it for 30 seconds. I could rent it for an hour. I could rent it for 8 hours, or I could rent it for days. The difference with options is that I can make money whether the stock goes up or down. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now, if you're holding stock in a portfolio and Chase drops by 10%, the only way to make money on the drop of the stock is to be short the stock, which no one would typically ever do because that has unlimited risk. Whereas with options, you could be short the stock, meaning I think Chase is going to drop by $1 today. So I'll buy puts. And if Chase goes down by 50 cents, 80 cents, $1, I make money. So personally, I don't care whether the market is going up or down on a day-to-day basis. I'm just going to trade the trend. So I can make money if it's going up. If the president sends out a tweet and says we're increasing tariffs to China to 180%, 300%, I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. Monday morning, the market is going to be all red. And when I see red, I know we are going to have a really big day. And we have bigger days on red days than we typically do green days because fear is a stronger motivation than greed. So when there is fear in the market, everybody sells first, asks questions later. You saw that on Liberation Day when the market lost 20 to 25% of its value in literally a week, right? People weren't even thinking through tariffs. All they heard were the headline news, get me out of this, I'm done, bye. We made a fortune when the market was dropping, okay? So the market, there's a saying, the market takes the escalator on the way up, but it takes the elevator on the way down. And when it is dropping or any stock is dropping, you will watch premiums go up by 300, 400, 500, 800%, literally in minutes. And you'd be amazed by how fast that happens. So, Yaron, why are options better than CFDs? I can't answer that. I don't even know what I don't trade CFDs, right? So options, in my opinion, are leverage, right? So for all of my students that are around the country or around the world, right, they're trading the US markets. They are not trading the market where they live. So whether you're in Germany, you're in Israel, you're in Australia, wherever you're at, you are not trading your local market mechanics because there's not enough volatility. There's not enough liquidity to get prices to move. Okay. So that's the reason why. So I'll go into Matthew. You have to know ahead of time how long you want to rent the stock. The answer is no. So there's some specific dynamics. I don't want to get into that because that's more of the master class as to how the mechanics work. But for every trade I take, regardless of what it is, I am pretty much in and out of every trade within 5 minutes, right? My average trade probably lasts 5 minutes long to make 30, 60, 90%. Now, the longer you hold it, potentially the more upside potential there is, but then you're also adding inclusive risk. Now, I am a risk manager. So if I can go into a trade and make 30% in 3 minutes and I walk out in 45 minutes making 3 grand on the day, I'm done, right? I don't sit here and do this all day. I don't sit here and stare at screens, stare at charts, and keep trying to make more money because what you're doing is you're now gambling, right? You're not following a system. You're not following the rules that I teach. You're actually just a gambler. And options trading for gamblers are very dangerous, right? Because you don't know when to stop. And what you will do is you will make money, but then you will turn around and give it all back. And then you'll give back even more. And you'll give back even more after that. And before you know it, you'll have a red day. And I'll show you some of those examples. So we work a lot on psychology. Couple common questions I'm going to run you through before we look at the Discord, just to, again, help those of you who aren't familiar with this have a better perspective. Okay. So some of the things that people ask is, what's so attractive with trading options? Well, it's really simple. It's called leverage, right? You can own 1,000 shares of Apple for 230 grand, or you control 1,000 shares of it for 1,800 bucks in options premiums. Which would you rather do? Me? I'd rather invest 1,850 bucks into Apple, watch a move that happened like yesterday in a trade that I took that went up 10x. And I'll show you how I actually fumbled the ball on that one. Okay. I've heard that options trading is just gambling. Is that true? Absolutely. It's absolutely true, right? Especially when you don't know what you're doing, which is 99% of the people who badmouth trading. They saw on Instagram, they saw a TikTok, they saw, right, someone like me that in 45 minutes made $5,000. Okay. So why is that? Well, I have the skill. They don't have no skill. They're like, well, I'm smart. I'm a corporate exec, right? I run a bank or, I run a whole software development team. I'm super intelligent. I got this PhD in economics. That don't mean shit, right? If you don't know what you are doing, then you are just gambling. And I'm going to call you on it every single time, which is why I lead with nothing other than education. And I'm very passionate about it because if you don't do it right, then you just do a disservice to all of us who do it correctly. Okay. Your returns look too good to be true. So what's the catch? Well, it's the power of options. When a stock moves $1 in a single day, a contract can move by 30% or more. So it just they're two different vehicles, right? So if you're so accustomed to just investing in stocks, you ain't making no 30% a day unless it's an earnings announcement, there's a big deal, there's an acquisition, right? There's something that's a catalyst. Now, if your stock is moving 30% a day, your options contracts are probably moving 1,000 to 3,000% in a day. Okay. How much can I make? All depends on your willingness to learn. Plain and simple. That's what this comes down to. Chase the money, the market will just keep taking it from you. Learn the skill, you will take the money from the market. My average trades are 20 to 100% return daily. But again, if you're going to chase rather than learn the skill, you're likely to lose it all. Now, you can't lose more than the options contract that you bought. So if you buy a contract for 100 bucks, you can't lose 200, you can't lose 500, you can't lose 1,000. You hear those horror stories all the time, and that's where you're short a naked put or you're short a naked call. First and foremost, your broker's never going to grant you that kind of access because you don't have the experience or the licensing to even allow that type of a trade to be put on. Okay. One of the questions, if you're entering and exiting positions on a 5-minute time frame, how are you not subject to the pattern day trader rule? Again, you don't have your account set up correctly, and that's what I teach you exactly how to do. So if you have margin turned on, okay, you have to keep over $25,000 in the account at all time. That is a PDT rule for FINRA. Okay. So if you have over 25 grand in margin, you could take unlimited trades in a day. If you have less than $25,000 in an account and margin on, then you are restricted to the PDT rule within a weekly time frame as to how many trades you can take. So the real simple answer to that is turn off the damn margin. Right? Just call the broker, tell them to turn it off. Tell you them, I want to trade in a cash account. Really simple. But I'm glad you asked because, again, it's all this nonsense that flies out on social media, or my neighbor said, or my uncle said, or right, my boss told me, right, you're going to lose everything. And you know why they tell you that? Because they don't know what in the hell they're talking about. And trust me, I talk to more people than you could possibly imagine who come to me with every risk criteria, and I could debunk every single one of them. And I'm like, who gave you that advice? It's like somebody that you wouldn't take advice from if your life even depended upon it. So, a couple more that I just want to cover. What's the risk to reward that I use? So, for me, I like a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 payout, meaning if I risk $1 in capital, I want an opportunity to make $1 or $2, right? So, a 1-to-1, a 2-to-1, a 3-to-1 is going to be better, but I will never take a trade if the, risk to reward ratio is less than that. How much do I risk? So my average trade on average is between 30 and 100 contracts, which equates to $3,000 to $10,000 of capital in a single trade. Okay. Now, they're not linear. Again, trading is not linear. So a contract in Apple might only cost $100. A contract in Tesla could cost $600. So it's very different. So the number of contracts times the contract price will give you the amount of capital at risk. Okay. And I teach what is the difference between trading the ETFs, which are like QQQ, SPY, versus the individual names, an Apple, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla, Nvidia, Palantir. I could keep going on, but we chart all of them. And then we watch for a price level to say, do I have a trade with an 80% probability? Okay. Brad, I thought a contract is 100 shares minimum. It is. One contract is equal to 100 shares. But a contract doesn't cost, right, 100 times the number of shares. You can't buy anything less than one contract. So you have to buy one contract in Apple, equates to 100 shares, right? There's a price, $100. I want to buy one contract in Tesla to control 100 shares. That contract could cost $500. I want to buy one contract in Google, right? You're going to control 100 shares. That contract might cost $50. The cost of the contract is dependent upon what's a strike price. And I don't want to get into all of that because that's the mechanics of the masterclass. So if I'm only risking $3,000 to $10,000, then how do I get returns of 20 grand in a day? Well, it's really simple, right? It's a leverage. So one contract is equal to owning 100 shares of a stock, which is exactly what I just gave you in the last example. So if you buy 10 contracts of Apple for $1,850, it's the same as controlling 230 grand. If Apple goes up $5 in a day, those contracts are going to move by 10x. So that's how an $1,800 investment turns into $18,500 in profit. Okay? It's all about leverage, and I'm going to show you those examples shortly. So, do I trade cash settled index like SPX in addition to the ETFs? Yeah, you could trade SPX, you could trade SPY, you could trade QQQ, you could trade the banks, the XLF, energy, the XLE, consumer, XLC, right? XLP. You could trade any ETF that you want to trade. You just have to make sure that your charts are in alignment and you're at a price level with confluence to take your trade. And that's how you will end up with an 80% win rate. How much time is required? At a minimum, you need to at least be available for an hour on the market open to become proficient at doing this. Now, I start 30 minutes before with my live trading to give a market overview, right? What are we seeing? What happened overnight? What are the news flow? What news is going to drop while the market is open that could push it higher, lower, what have you? Because we are trading the market sentiment, right? We are trading the directional bias of the market and we trade with it. We don't trade against it. How much do you need to get started? At a minimum, I would say $1,000 in a brokerage account and about $150 a month for software and indicators. The 150 isn't required, but it just makes your job easier, right? And that's the name of the game. Ease, simplicity, efficiency. Those three things. Keep it simple, keep it easy, keep it efficient, make your money, go about your day. So, just a couple few last ones. How do you minimize losses? So, I use a stop loss of 30 to 40% to stop out of a trade if it invalidates from my entry point. Okay. So, you trade the charts, you don't trade the premiums. If you get so caught up in watching, oh my gosh, I just went into this trade, right, with $100 and now it's only worth $80, I better stop out. It's not doing what I want it to do. Well, then you're probably just going to be giving a lot of money to the market maker because you're not in it long enough to let the trade play out. So we trade the charts, we don't trade the premiums. How long did it take you to learn to be consistently profitable? What I typically see with all my students is about 90 days. But you're going to have to play in the simulator for the first 30 with Monopoly money. I am a firm believer that if you can't make money in a simulator with fake money, then you probably don't have a prayer of making money with real money, right? And that's why, again, we're going to lead with risk management. It is so critical to the long-term success. So, how do I know what to buy and when? Well, you come trade with me live in the market open, right? And that's what the Discord's all about. And I have four other analysts that give all their buy sell signals while the market's open. And the win rate is 80% or better every day, with returns of 30 to 100%. It's consistent, it's common. Again, you go back 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I mean, all the data is there for you to see. There's nothing to hide. And when you learn this as a skill, you become proficient at it. In anything that you become proficient at, you will have consistency over and over again. This is a little separate. So this was a presentation I took from one of my other decks, but the master class. So the master class I teach is 15 hours of absolutely everything that you could possibly need to know about trading options from the start with success, right? Again, if you want to learn on your own and go watch YouTube videos and read books, do what I did, right? Invest 10,000 hours trying to self-educate you and following a whole bunch of people, you can surely do that, right? But if you want to shortcut it and do it the right way, I'm happy to teach you. But I'm not here to sell you on anything. And then what happens after class? A lot of people ask, and I just tell them it does nothing. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving. You guys aren't going to see me change anything on LinkedIn for the next 5 to 10 years. I'm going to keep showing up every day and I'm going to keep trading live every morning. But I'll show you the website later because there's a couple free things if you want to just start learning, but you're not ready to take the master class that you can do from an education perspective. So, what software do I use? I trade on Thinkorswim, which is Charles Schwab. My Canadian students all use IBKR. We use the option ladder to actually get in and out of trades very quickly and very efficiently. We do all of our charting in TradingView, and then we do all of our trade recaps and reviews and analysis in TradeZella. Okay. Do any of them trade live beside me? They do. And let's go ahead and take a look at that if you guys are ready. Okay. So, any other quick questions before I jump into the Discord? Yep, taxes are all capital gains. Mine are a little different because I trade in an LLC. So I trade as a business entity. So I deduct all of my broker fees. I deduct all of my software, my monthly subscriptions, my Wi-Fi, my cell phone, business meals, travel, all kinds of stuff, right? Do I have students from Europe? Yeah, I probably got about 100 of them, 150. So what you want to do is, depending upon where you're at in Europe and what country you're in, you want to reach out to Charles Schwab. So that is the best way to trade is on Schwab. Now, some countries are prohibited from using Schwab, at least yet, although they're opening up to all of the UK, EU. But then IBKR would be the other, which is Interactive Brokers. So those are the two. Okay. What software makes up the $150 monthly trading? It's TradingView, and I use a supply and demand indicator. I'll show you what that looks like that shows liquidity levels. I do use the premium version of TradeZella and TradingView for both of them. Yeah. Does it have to be multiple software? You could trade on one platform. You could trade in just Thinkorswim or IBKR. but it's going to be really hard to do charting super fast. But totally up to you, right? It's a personal preference. If you're going to start, if you're just starting, start with an individual account. Don't start with an LLC. You got to form the LLC. You got to pay the fees. The taxes are more expensive to do. But long term, when you have consistency and profits like I do every day, right? I want to run this like a business. This isn't a hobby for me. This is, my livelihood, and it's what I do every single day. So, yep. You could trade on E-Trade if you want, right? I'm not here to tell you guys what platform to use. What I am going to show you is what is the most efficient platform to trade on. That is the name of the game. It is ease and efficiency, right? That's what we're looking for. Okay. Does Tasty Trades have an option ladder? No clue, Brett. Don't use it. Haven't used it. I had one student that tried it and they jumped off of it within a week. The order execution was for shit. The price and the price fills were awful. So remember, when you go with low cost, you get low quality. So if all the professional traders are using IBKR or Thinkorswim, that's how you need to be thinking about this, right? If you're going to be a professional, right, professional baseball player, don't show up with a kid mitt. It just doesn't make sense. So, with basic trading levels at Schwab, you need level one. You need to be able to buy calls and buy puts. You do not have to buy spreads. So, that's not a requirement. Do I have a Discord for everyone that does not require pay to play? Carlos, I do not. Right? My time is super valuable. What I teach, again, you can follow some kid on Instagram or TikTok if you want and get their advice, or you could pay for the advice of a 35-year career bank exec who has taught 1,200 people on LinkedIn in the past 18 months how to trade the right way with documentation. Let me see somebody else do that with consistency, right? So. I'm gonna walk. Yep, the Discord monthly fee is 150. I'll walk through it and I'll show you exactly how it works. But let's get into the Discord. I'll answer some questions after, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time because I'm already 30 minutes in. But in the Discord itself, you can see we have about 962 members. No, I don't have 5,000, 10,000, right? You go to some other trading communities and they'll have a gazillion, right? I don't want that. That's not what I'm building. I'm not trying to educate the hamburger flipper at McDonald's to quit their job and come trade options, right? And lose their ass. That's not me. My audience are professionals, they're career professionals, they're executives, they're seasoned individuals that have really good understanding of risk management and the ability to listen to what I teach. Okay. Those are the people I surround myself with. Most of all of my students are 6 and 7 figure earners in their own business or their own corporate jobs, but they want to learn a skill. You don't have to trade, right? But you can learn how the market dynamics work. You could learn how liquidity works. You could learn how to have better investment decisions with your financial advisor rather than just showing up and saying, okay, yeah, let's do that. And you don't even know what the hell's happening. So, anyways, in the Discord to the left are what do we call all the channels. That there is a channel here, how to use Discord, that walks you through all the channels, what's in them, how to manage the membership. We also, the disclaimers are nothing more than everything that we just went through. I do have chat rules, right? I am all about professionalism. And we have fun. We have a lot of fun. We joke around, right? But I keep politics out of this. I keep religion out of this. I want to be respectful of everybody's upbringing and background. Okay. Things that are sensitive, right? Politics, race, religion, sexual orientation, drug usage, right? Suicide. I mean, it's something that can be quite challenging. The masterclass, again, this is just what's in the masterclass. I've been changing it up over the last several months. It actually has more and more value now than ever because I really want people to see this as, right, a long-term investment in themselves. This is not a get rich quick, let me try this for 2 weeks and then I'm going to go jump to something else, right? If that's your mindset, don't even spend time with me. It's not worth it, right? Because I will add insane value over time, but I can't do it for anybody in 24 hours, okay? If there's announcements, things that you should be watching for. So, right, this was the New York Stock Exchange was closing early before the 4th of July. We have a weekly watch list, and I'm going to show you how to get this. It's totally free, but I put out a weekly watch list every single week that says these are all the stocks that I'm watching. And then here is how I would trade them. Okay, so here's all my price levels. Here's my gap fills. Here's my liquidity zones. This is exactly what I'm going to do with you live if we trade this stock. Okay. Every week there's earnings announcements that we want to be aware of, and we want to be aware of them because it could dramatically move the market. So, for example, ELF announced earnings and it plummeted. Okay, so you don't want to be in a call trade going into earnings because you're just gambling. Let the earnings come out, and then we'll trade ELF the next morning based upon is there more continued downside or is there potential bounce to go higher? Same thing with McDonald's. Now, McDonald's, these all announced before earnings, before the market opened, right? So Uber, Disney, McDonald's, right? We took some trades on these while the market was open on Wednesday. But the after hour ones will look to trade possibly the very next morning. So those are just some of the market announcements. Now, this is where all of the trade alerts are at with all of each and every one of us. So we'll have a watch list that Gus, my mentor, who also has a channel in the Discord, will put out that will say we're expecting the range of QQQ to be X and Y. Okay, so I would take calls above 566.64, puts below 563. Again, price levels, charts, liquidity, and how we're going to work through. Same thing with SPY. What are the price levels, IWM, and then a pre-market heat map. So what are they buying already before the market's opening? Well, clearly you can see they were buying Palantir, right? They're selling some of the industrial names. They were selling Coinbase, right? They had earnings, so that was down 4%. Banks are all pretty much stagnant, other than Blackstone. It was up slightly. AMD was up, chips were up, Nvidia's up, right? Tech is going to be green on the market open. And then again, they'll do this every day. So you kind of can see, well, what are their levels? Are their levels near mine? Right? I teach you how to chart, right? So I'm going to teach you how to chart your own levels. I don't want you just being purely dependent upon following someone else's trades. Me, same thing, right? Here's all my price levels for how I'm going to trade the futures data. And you'll note, right, that again, the market is very predictable. It stays with what we call within liquidity zones, right? If it can't get above a liquidity zone, it will fail and it will go seek a lower zone and then it will retrace. Now, what did it retrace? This is technically a fib retracement of about the 50% level. Another tool that we use to say if it's going to reject and go lower, why would it happen right here, right? We can use a tool that will tell us where the market is going to go up and then pitch back down. Same thing with overall futures, right? They can't get above 23,652. It's going to come down, look for more buyers, bounce higher. This one is probably at the 786 fib level. Now I know that because I can just see it because I've been doing this for so long. So this is one of the indicators that we use, which is going to be the supply and demand indicator where we have sellers in the red, buyers in the green. You can see when they can't get above a price level, what do they got to do? They got to come down and find more buyers. They have to find more buyers in order to go back higher. Okay. So we'll use different software programs to help us identify where are the sellers now stepping in to get out of the trade and where are their buyers coming in to actually push a stock higher. We'll always be watching volatility. So what is the volatility index doing? That's part of Confluence trading. And then again, I will show you what the pre-market heat map is. And then I trade live over Zoom. Okay. This was one of my call outs yesterday. I was trading Apple live in front of everybody. I was at $36 a contract. I got out at $38 a contract. So I was only a couple bucks higher. And those contracts went from 36 all the way up to $460. That was crazy, right? And I fumbled the ball, right? I had a green trade. I had a winning trade, but I clearly took profits too early because if I was in the trade for 10 grand, that 10 grand would have become 120 grand. Or if I was in the trade even for $1,000, that $1,000 would have became $12,000, right? So, Gus, my mentor, same exact thing. He's going to tell you exactly what is he buying, where is he getting his order filled. So he's buying the IWM 222 call. He's getting filled at 76 bucks. You can go look at IWM on the charts and see the pricing, right? And it will tell you that this is the price. Is it higher? Is it lower? Do you decide to take the trade, right? He added some and then he ended up trimming them. So he got out of his IWM, right? Went up 95%. Okay, so he wasn't in the trade long, right? We're in the trade at 11:17, time stamped, out of the trade at 11:37. Okay. Anthony, one of the other analysts, Gus and Anthony are brothers. I've known them for a long time. We're really good friends. But again, they're fantastic at this with their charting, their price levels. Here was their Palantir trade that one contract went up again 80%. And what we're watching in how this works, right? So all the levers are called, all the charts, everything. They trade live. So one of the questions was, Bill, does anybody else trade live other than you? Yeah, absolutely. Anthony does, Gus does. Gus will even do a power hour, sometimes for the last hour of the day. And then again, they'll show you the profits. They'll show you the video replays. Why did I take the trade? What were the overall results? So on and so forth. So there's a channel for each of us. Bryce is a liquidity trader. Bryce is amazing. So he will show you, he does not trade live over Zoom, but he will show you his charts with his price levels, with where he believes the market is going to run to. He tells you exactly what he's buying, the price that he paid, getting in pretty heavy for this. These were calls, right? He expected it to go all the way up to his price level of 23,863, which is marked in this yellow line here. And then he'll walk you through where he's taking profits, where else he's getting filled for subsequent trades, what's happening with his stop loss, his profit gains, and just literally walks you through the entire process live while the market is open. So not only is this an amazing way to learn, right, to build the skill for yourself, but it is full details of exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it, right? And then the final recap for the day wasn't bad, right? You had three trades. One went up 129%, the other 187, and the last one was 38%. Okay. And then he will usually do, this was a Friday, so he hasn't posted it yet, but he'll always post usually a video replay of what he was watching, how he took his trades. This day before was not as good, right? So we're going to have some losses. So it looks like he had a 30%, a 31, a 29, and a 25. He was doing a lot of scalping this day. And we'll teach you on days like this, or I'll teach you, right? You stay out of the market when it's just doing this back and forth, right? Because you're trying to catch the top, the bottom, the top, the bottom, versus like yesterday, just wait for a trend. But Bryce will also do a video recap, so you can go in and literally watch, what he's had on a day-by-day basis and how each of them played out. And that's why I want you guys to write Trade in the Simulator. Here was his results from the day before. He did have one loser, right? 20% of my trades are losers. I win 8 out of 10 trades. I will lose 2 of them. I didn't have a losing trade this week. No, that was a bit of an anomaly week for me, right? But I was playing it a little more on the conservative side. But I still walked away with $12,000 in profit with having moderate risk, right? Not being in a trade for pretty much more than $3,000 to $6,000. And if you're making, again, 30 to 60% in a matter of 45 minutes, you learn to stop. Okay. Flint is amazing. Flint actually beats the S&P by like 2,360% year after year after year. Every one of his alerts. So here he's buying BP calls, tells you the expiration, what he's paying, where his stop loss is, right? This thing in charts, he includes everything. So looks like the BP, where did he end up on this one? It blew up. I think he was up like 300% on this thing. He tells you if he's taking earnings. Now, if you're taking an earning lotto, it's a lottery, right? So he might only be buying one contract for 39 bucks, 70 bucks, 16 bucks, 13 bucks. Not a lot of money, okay? So here's his BP finally hit his target at the end of the day, and BP was up 239%, right? That's the power of options. His CVS trade up 315, BP 230. He was in open for some puts. And then he'll also do a recap and show you where he's getting in, where he's getting out. So this is where he was at for the week: 10, 30, 315, 500%, 50, 20, 15. He didn't even take a losing trade. So he was literally on a heater, but he's a breakout trader, right? And it's all technical. And if you're asking yourself, well, if it's so good to be true, why doesn't everybody do it? That's a damn good question, right? Because this would be a skill that I would clearly want to learn. Okay. So this is also the post I did on US Bank that they took and his puts went up 95%. So you could follow the trades. I don't advise that you just do that blindly, right? You should be pulling up your chart, looking at your price level, saying, do I see what he sees? And my goal is to be able to teach you to do that. It's not to just blindly follow this thinking this is easy money, right? It's day after day of education. Yeah, we do this every day in the Discord. Every day. Nobody takes a day off other than FOMC. USC Iceman was a student of mine who I promoted to an analyst because his track record is phenomenal. He took my August masterclass, and now he puts out all of his alerts, all of his charts, and his track record is just phenomenal. 20% trade, 75% winning trade, charts, levels, explaining what he's doing, why he's doing it, giving all of his recaps, all of his videos, everything. It's amazing, right? 157%. So on and so forth. Now, I think he did have one losing trade yesterday. This was a great example, right, of why you don't get out of a trade when it's down 30% because it ended up going up 41%. So we trade the charts, we don't trade the options premiums. Okay. I talk a lot about scam alerts. I will never message you in the Discord. I will never DM you first. I will never ask for your bank info. I will never ask you for crypto. I will never ask you for cash. I will never offer you a copy trading program. I won't do any of these things. These are all scams, right? That you're going to get scammed by somebody in the Discord who looks like me, who has my picture, but they have a misspelling on my name. Okay. We do trade recaps. So Iceman's really good at doing a trade recap. Why did I take the trade? Here's exactly how I did it. So this is how my 500% ROI QQQ trade played out. Here's my 163 profit on IWM. We do everything that we can to educate you guys. That is what this is all about, right? It's most important. Posting your gains. So again, I ask the students and everybody in the Discord, post your gains. Addie, love her to death. She's such a great steward and a learner, and she was a trader before she came to me, and we just really honed in some of her skills. But 650% on IWM puts, right? Dave's one of my, I'm going to actually call him a good friend because I do consider him a good friend up in Canada. That we've had to work through some issues with trading on IBKR, but some absolutely amazing results. Eric was in the podcast that I put out. If you guys had an opportunity to watch it, military veteran, 30% on Teva, 26% on USB. Dan, great day, right? This was my trade. I'll occasionally post my results as well. I typically try not to post them too often, just because it's not about me. It's about what can I teach, right? And then does this work? And I can prove it that it works. Here's all of Iceman's trades from the day. And then again, all the screenshots, everything is live while the market's open. So again, no Photoshop. There's no way to Photoshop this stuff when we're calling it out, right? And we're doing it live with buy, with sell. So no, we got IBKR all figured out. So I'll show you how to use that in a minute. We took some Oscar shares. So we're up 10%. I'm holding this. They're asking, Bill, when are you selling? I'm going higher, right? I think we're going 17.50 to 18. We got in at 13 bucks, 13.50. So they took some trades with me there. Here's Dave doing AMD calls, Apple calls, right? And Phil, one of my students that is in the north part of the UK, that we did a one-on-one coaching session on Tuesday night for him. It was Tuesday morning. And then he took exactly what we drew on his charts and he traded it the next morning. And here were his results. And this is his testimonial, guys. I didn't ask him to type up any of this stuff. I didn't ask him to post this. They just do it, right? But I want to give extra special thanks to Fanter. The reason I took all three of these was because they hit levels that rejected an overlapping fib exactly as you taught me Tuesday night. If you do what I teach, it is really hard to not succeed. It's really hard to fail. But if you go off on a tangent and don't follow the rules, don't follow the risk management, and start adding all kinds of stupid indicators and shortcuts, you're going to lose money. It's really that simple, right? It's like anything else in life. So these are just all the wins, the students having fun. This was my Apple trade, right? Apple was up over 1,000%, and I bought it essentially at a break even. So I'm going to tell people when I screw up. I have nothing to hide. I post my losing trades too, right? You need to be able to see that I'm not perfect, right? We got into this trade at $36 a share. They went up over 410, right? It's crazy, crazy. It would have been a big, big money maker, right? But we teach confluence and divergence. Now, do we have losses? Of course we have losses, and I created a channel for losses. And I asked people in the Discord to please post your loss. I want to know, what did you lose? What was the trade you took? How can we help you fix it? Right? And you'll see over and over again, this is pretty common, right? Total mess today. Basically, everything I tried went wrong. Now I fully understand revenge trading. Okay, and that's the gambling aspect. I told you guys when we started, 20% of this is technical, 80% is psychological. If your head goes in the gutter, you're screwed while you're trading. Okay, and he lost 850 bucks, right? And I'm not going to shame him for that. What I want to do is reach out and say, tell me what you did wrong. How can this community help you? Right? And that's what it's about. I mean, so we could have a good win rate, right? But we can take losing trades. And why? Right? Because trading is like a roller coaster, right? Doesn't look bad. Then you're getting to the top and you're like, oh, and then you're going down. It's like, whoa, what is happening to me? And it's so psychological, right? But these guys do make me laugh and we have fun. But yeah, you're going to have some losing days, right? Lost 11%. So look, winner 21%, winner 14%, winner 74%, but a loser of 46. What happened with SPY? Because we took two losing trades on SPY, a put and a call. So that tells me that they were probably trying to trade bi-directional, when therefore we should only be trading one way. So a lot of encouragement in the community, a lot of emotion, but that's what it's all about. And then as people have questions, right, I'm trying to figure something out. This isn't working. Does anyone have a video on fib levels? I want to get better. Does someone have a better video on supply and demand? Or does anyone know why TradingView is showing this? Right? We are there to literally support one another. So this is like real instant time. Ask your question, and one of us will grab it, right? Someone in the community will grab it. I'll grab it, right? What do you want to know? Education, education, education. System settings. Again, I said I have a fair amount of Canadian students. I think we've got over 50 of them that are trading on IBKR. So we have a video that shows how to set up IBKR that's exactly like Thinkorswim, the interchain sources for people in Canada. Rather than Sorry, guys. I got cut off there. The Zoom cut off, but I just want to make sure we're all back. Yep. You're good. Okay, sorry about that. Zoom reset, and I don't know why. So all the tools that we use, the supply and demand indicators, swing trading strategies, if you want to set up an LLC, who my CPA is, indicator, how to use everything that we use, plotting price levels, charting price levels, system software to use different types like CBC Flip that Asia Rude designed, right? TTM Squeeze, another tool that we use within the trading world. So all of that is there. And then an opportunity for people to introduce themselves. We have general chat, trade talk, futures, trade psychology. We do a lot of videos on trade psychology, which is important. And then trade ideas, things that we're watching. And then we do have a recap of all of our tutorials, our webinars, everything that's in there. Journaling on TradeZella. Jaime did a phenomenal presentation on that. USC Iceman did a great presentation on Confluence trading and how that works. And then books and courses that we recommend, right, for continuing ed. So this isn't like a one and done and then, party's over. So give me 1 second. Let me fix this. Apologize for that, guys. There we go. So again, introductions, general chats, trade talk, futures, psychology, trade ideas, all of our videos, books and courses. And then this is all AI driven down here. So this is something that's a little bit new, right? Where you're actually using AI for order flow, important news event, trade ideas, large option sweeps, dark pool prints. And I'm not going to go into all of this, but you could actually even watch, trade breakouts and everything along those lines. So there's a ton of stuff around that that's just an added component as to what I think is important for us to think about. So, okay, good, 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 good. Let's see. Other questions. Let me just check the Q&A real quick. Yep, we're good there. We got that. Other questions that I can answer for you guys. Are there any videos on how to set up Thinkorswim? Yep. If you email me at options@billfanter.com, I can send you a setup instruction for that. Let me show one more thing. So we got this. Okay. Couple freebies if you want. Totally up to you. Is if you go to my website, so this is a way you can email me too. My email address is here. But if you just come down and it's billfanter.com, if you go to the middle of the screen, couple things. One, there's that weekly watch list that I talked about that I put out every Sunday, right? That you can get the free weekly watch list. Just put in your name and your email and, click that it's not a robot, and that'll get delivered to you on Sundays. So that's the weekly watch list. If you want to learn more about the webinar, right, then how options work. I did a whole 30-minute webinar on options and gives you a little bit more in-depth information as to what they are, why their context is what they are, why I trade them, so on and so forth. The community, this is the Discord community. So there's everything out here with, again, all the screens, everything that I just showed you, how it works, the real-time quotes, connecting with the community. If you decide to join, and again, I'm not pitching you to join, it's just always an option. It is $150 a month, $1,500 a year. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not making excuses for it. I give insane value. And if you can't make $150 a month trading, you should not be trading, guys. You shouldn't. You're a gambler and you should come to Vegas and we'll meet up. I'll take you to dinner and we'll have cocktails, right? But if you can't make $150 a month trading, something is seriously wrong, in my opinion, because you're not doing it right and you're not listening to what I teach. You don't need any experience. How much time do you need to commit? We covered all of this. What if I lose money? You will lose money, right? You just can't lose more than what you put into an options contract. Now, can you trade while working a full-time job? Yeah, all my students do, right? Nobody's really quit. And I'm always around for questions. I'm probably the most accessible guy in the world. And so then just the final last thing. If you want to seriously learn how to do this the right way, you don't have to, right? But I am going to do one more masterclass in September, and then I am done for the year. So everything that it has, it includes the Discord. There's a program with even one-on-one live coaching with me on a monthly basis. So you can take a look at this. If you're overseas, UK, Australia, EU, I recommend you do the learn on your own because the time difference is literally in the middle of the night. Okay. And I don't want you getting up at 2 a.m. to listen to me talk about options. So do this and then just come join me in the Discord and trade live. Because in the EU and UK, I'm trading live at 6:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time. For you, it's actually 3:30 in the afternoon. So it actually works out kind of nice. And then, Paul, how do people trade live while working a full-time job? Well, they're trading the market open. We only trade for the first 60 minutes. So you would have to be available, at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 Eastern. Otherwise, I'm not going to lie. It doesn't work fantastic, right? Yep. So these aren't yeah, so the year. So this is the master class, right? This is 6 nights, 2.5 hours per session. So it's like 18 hours of me teaching exactly how to trade options the right way with everything. Okay. The Discord, which is the community, is 150 a month, okay, or 1,500 a year, right? But if you take the master class, then the Discord is actually just part of it. And then again, you can go see student comments, right? Yeah, the classes are all recorded. Yeah, you get access, lifetime access to them. But these are all the students, there are a good number of them that have all taken the class, commented. You could go see what they do. You could see their testimonials. I'm not going to tell you who to reach out to, but click on one of them, right? It'll take you to LinkedIn. It takes you to their profile. Send them a message. Any one of these guys, gals, right? You decide. Do your homework, right? Don't just blindly take my word for it. Go do your investigation. Figure out, is Bill everything that he says he is? Is he full of shit? Is this too good to be true, right? Do whatever homework you want. I ain't going anywhere, guys. And I'm going to keep doing this. And the reason I keep doing it is because I have transformed so many people's lives beyond imagination. And even if you were just to go look at my LinkedIn post from this morning, and this is why I do this, this is why it's so super important to me, right? Is paying it forward. But when I get people to just email me out of nowhere and say, Bill, I need to tell you straight up what you've built has changed my life, right? You didn't teach me trading. You gave me a real path out, one that's disciplined, scalable, built for people like me who are sick of spinning their wheels. Okay. Thanks for what you do. You're changing lives. You damn sure changed mine. I mean, who sends you an email like that? That's why I do it. So, right? Yeah, I do have a number for the upcoming masterclass. When it hits the limit, I'm just going to close it. So the email went out to everybody who's already on the wait list. I will send you this recorded message, replay of this if you want to watch it again. But with that, I don't have anything else, guys. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I do want to say thank you for showing up this morning. And thank you for giving me the time to share an opportunity with you that I think has tremendous value. And it does if you do it correctly. If you're going to do it the wrong way, you're going to lose your ass. I'm going to tell you right now. It's a gambler's mindset. It's a gambler's game. And if you don't use risk management, you don't do exactly what I teach you, you will not succeed. I'm going to be very, very transparent in that. I'm not here to sell anything. I'm not here to bullshit anybody. I'm going to show you an opportunity. But if you're going to do it, you're going to do it the right way if you're going to do it with me. So with that, have a great weekend, everybody. I really appreciate your time. And thanks for following me on LinkedIn and your comments. They mean the world to me. So with that, have a great weekend. I'll send out the replay, and I hope to see you in September for the masterclass, or at least in the Discord. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.